Hey guys, I'm making this video today to talk a little bit about the first question that I ever had when I entered an outpatient treatment program involuntarily, but the first question I ever really had for myself is, am I even an alcoholic, and am I even an addict? Uh, I was pretty sure that upon entering the rooms for treatment that I was just going to behave while I was in there for the few weeks that I was. Then I was going to go out drinking and doing whatever else I was doing the second I walked out those doors. Everyone in treatment had a problem, but I didn't. I was just there by circumstance, and that's just the way things were. The only person that can really answer that question is you. Determining whether or not you're an addict or an alcoholic is something that you have to ask yourself, and you have to be really honest about when trying to figure that out. Um, there's a whole bunch of different ways, different tests that people talk about that say if you answer 8 of these 10 questions or scenarios yes, then you probably have a problem with drinking. Or if you have experienced any of this list of things in the past month, or if you've had this many drinks in the past month, then you are an addict or an alcoholic. And although those can be kind of useful, you're the one who really answers that question at the end of the day. Um, Personally speaking, for me, um, I wasn't able to get better and start cleaning up my act and staying sober until I admitted to myself that I was an alcoholic. People told me for years before I ever stopped drinking that I was an alcoholic and that I was an addict. Other people could see it, but I couldn't. It was just something that I wasn't willing to admit. Um, I just couldn't convince myself that I had a problem, um, and that's ties into one of the pieces of literature that I got from a 12-step meeting recently, and it goes over a couple key points that I thought were pretty cool about things you can ask yourself. Um, Maybe you can relate to them, maybe you can't. If you can relate to any of them, then my own suggestion would be to consider a little bit more thoroughly whether or not you might have a problem. But like I said, that's a question for you to answer at the end of the day. So um, you go ahead and live your life. I'm living mine. These are just my opinions, and it was a cool piece of literature that I found. So I'm gonna read a couple of these off, and you can try and relate to the best of your ability. Number 1, do you drink to relax when you have problems? For me, personally, that was the only way I knew how to relax, was to come home from a stressful day of work or something else and to start drinking or start doing drugs, because I just knew that naturally calmed me, and that was my go-to in times of needing to relax. Number 2, do you drink when you are irritated, frustrated, unhappy, or angry? Much like the first question, that was my way of calming myself back down. That was when I got mad. That's how I calmed down. I got drunk. It didn't always make me more calm, but that's what I did, and that just kind of became my natural response to situations that got me frustrated, angry, upset, anything like that. Number 3, do you prefer to drink alone? Um, for me personally, again, um, I didn't always like to drink alone. I like to drink with other people when I was feeling social, but there were also times when I would much rather prefer just to get booze or drugs and just do them alone in the basement, because then there was no one there to judge me or to make an ass out of myself in front of. Um, it was just I could use and drink with no repercussions. No one would see how sloppy I got or would hear the things I said, provided I didn't hop on my cell phone and do that. But that's another story. Number 4, are your grades slipping or are you having trouble at work? There were a lot of jobs that I quit because I was either hungover when I was supposed to be going to work, or the schedule just didn't, it was conflicting to my drinking schedule. And as stupid as that sounds, that's the reality of it. I managed to be okay in school. That didn't totally ruin my post high school grades. I did get expelled from high school as a result of something that involved drugs and alcohol, but that's a video for a later day. But that's another area of my life I almost even forgot about, that, yeah, it has affected my schooling in some way. Number 5, do you ever try to stop drinking or drink less and fail? There was a really good example, of this that I heard in a meeting I went to recently, where someone's counselor or psychologist or something told them, or advised them rather, to try and drink just one beer that night and come back and report to them what happened the next day. And it seems like an easy task. People who aren't alcoholics would have no problem with this challenge, but for an addict like myself, there's no way I could stop at just one. There's a saying in the programs that one is too many and 1,000 never enough. That is true through and through for me. When I drink, I like to either have a whole bunch, more than I should or anyone else should really put into their body, or I should probably just not do it at all. Number 7, do you guzzle your drinks? That doesn't even seem like there was any other way of drinking. For me personally, I mean, it was crack open a beer and drink it as fast as you could. Let's see. Oh, I kind of got these out of order. Do you take drinks in the morning? Again, it wasn't a typical thing for me, but there were days when, say, I was unemployed or I had no obligations to anyone that day. It wouldn't be too challenging for me to start drinking at 9 a.m. or 11 a.m. or 1 p.m. or whatever. If I had nothing else going on that day, or nothing else that was important that I could bail on or something like that, then that was not a problem at all for me. I would easily just start shortly after waking up. The next question is, have you ever forgotten what happened when you were drinking? I was definitely a blackout drinker, so that was a common occurrence for me to wake up taking a few seconds to realize where I was, sometimes not knowing how I got back to where I was. The list goes on and on. I could tell you about 100+ different times that I blacked out while drinking and don't remember what I did, what I said, where I went, what I spent money on, things like that. The next point is, do you ever lie about your drinking? That I've done that so much. You tell family or friends that, no, I'm okay, I'm fine, I'm not really interested in drinking, maybe at like a social event, but then I would come back home and I would drink myself to oblivion. I tried to make it seem like I was okay, like, no, I'm totally passing on alcohol today, but in reality I just wanted to not do it in front of you because you guys either don't party like I do, or you wouldn't understand, or you'd tell me to slow down, or you'd judge me or do something. There was a lot of different scenarios. That's just one of many in which lying and drinking kind of went hand in hand. The next question they ask, if you can relate to, is, do you ever get in trouble when you drink? The easiest example I can give is, I probably drove drunk 1,000 times in my teenage years, into my early 20s, and eventually I got a DWI. It was bound to happen, and people get in trouble for a lot of other things too, besides just driving while intoxicated as a result of drinking problems. But that's just the easiest example for myself that comes to the top of my mind. The next point is, do you ever get drunk when you drink, even though you don't want to? That's kind of a mouthful. Do you ever drink? Do you ever get drunk when you drink, even though you don't want to? How I interpret that is, do you ever go into a social setting or something like that saying, I'm just going to have a slight buzz throughout the whole event, and then I will gracefully leave and go home and continue to drink if I want to. I do not want to get drunk at this event, and consequently you end up getting drunk. That happened a lot. There was one graduation party I went to for a friend a year or two younger than I. She was in high school, but she had a keg at her graduation party. It was within walking distance to where I was living at the time, and I just wanted to go there, have a few beers, and go home. But of course, my inner alcoholic couldn't resist consuming as much of the keg as I possibly could. Ended up getting into a physical brawl with another gentleman at this event, and ended up walking home kind of concussed. And that was something I didn't intend to do when I left my house to go to this graduation party where there were parents present and kids present and stuff like that. The last point that it makes is, do you think it is cool to be able to drink a lot? I thought it was extremely cool. I thought it was cool that if I almost measured coolness by the amount of alcohol you could drink. I thought people that were lightweights, they weren't very cool. I would try and teach them how to drink more, to be cool like I was, because I could drink a whole 12-pack of Steel Reserve or a whole 175 of UV Blue, just things like that when I was young. And it's definitely not something that I would consider to be cool now. I would just see that as my alcoholism at a young age in front of my peers, I guess you could say. But like I said, again, those are just points. If you can relate to any of those, give it some more thought, research it. It's not a definite, if you answered yes to any of those, that you are for sure an alcoholic or an addict. That's neither for me or that pamphlet to say. That's a question that you answer on your own after doing some more research on the matter. If you guys have any questions or comments, feel free to leave them below, and I will try to answer them to the best of my ability as soon as I get them. Other than that, stay tuned for more videos, and thanks for checking this one out. Hope I can help. Thanks, guys.